Good morning guys and welcome back to We Are Racing. My mother always used to say to me that there are two types of things in this world. The things we would like to do, that we want to do, and those things that we have to do. What we want to do and what we would like to do is carry on with the wiring on the Birkin and maybe continue with the reverse water kit as well as the plumbing on the side. What we have to do is to get the camper van running and off the driveway. For those of you who commented on our videos, thank you so much. We make a point of responding to every single comment and responding to every single question. There was quite a few comments that said that my voice is too soft, that I need to speak up or find a microphone. I've not been able to find a proper microphone that works with my cell phone. Now, in the normal circumstances, we actually take all the video with my cell phone and a DJI gimbal that I bought for the cell phone. But good news, and I hope you can hear me better today, we have updated our equipment. Let me just take a... Thanks for watching our videos. Please like the channel and subscribe if you like what we're doing so we can bring more. Picture of that. Right, and here we are. This is a 1983 VW camper, and according to the sticker on the back of the car, it comes with a 2.1 litre fuel injected motor. Now, I've done a fair amount of reading on this oak just to try and understand the motor. Yes, I don't like to read, this is true, but it looks like everywhere else in the world this particular car shipped with a 1.9 litre fuel injected motor. Good news, they do seem to be very much the same. So I don't think we're going to run into too many problems. The van used to run perfectly. There was really no problem with it. We had the motor redone some years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it ran like a champion. And then we parked it at the farm, and I am pretty sure some rats got into the wiring on the side over here, and that led to the problem that we have today, where she doesn't start at all. She does crank, but she doesn't start. No matter what we do, we can't get it to start. So I'm 100% convinced that the problem is electrical, and that we're going to be able to resolve that by finding where the rats chewed the cables. So that's where we're going to basically start. We're going to take out the injectors and see that the injectors fire. We're going to take out the spark plugs and make sure that we've got spark. But if any one of those two things are missing, I am 100% convinced that we are experiencing an electrical problem, and we will start searching for that. We'll keep you updated. Just a quick little top tip. This airbox in the VW motor is quite difficult to get out. Just a quick top tip. Open it up. Take the thing apart, split the top and the bottom, take out the air filter, and then you'll be able to get in there to take it out. And obviously when you reinstall it, it's really just the reverse of that process. Right, scratching in the corner over here, I unplugged our stock ECU and realized that it doesn't have a hell of a lot of power coming in or out of it. So I scratched around a little bit more, and I found this wrapped in that. And it's a Dictator aftermarket management system, and we have a loose wire. Let's hold thumbs if we fix the wire, that we maybe get fuel. Right, quick little update. We've removed the two injectors, and what we want to see is whether there's fuel coming out of the system when we crank the motor. Gooi hom. Okay. Nothing. no fuel coming out of the injectors. Now that could be caused by a few different things. And of course we're also sitting with a curse here of a car that is basically, she's like, what is this, 30 odd years old, 1982 now? No, we're approaching 40 years old. And in 40 years of life, you've had multiple people hacking away at the wiring, pulling stuff out, cutting stuff off, and yeah, so you're not exactly sure what's supposed to fit in where or how or anything. So there's lots of loose wires inside here, lots of spare wires, and fortunately these look cut and not chewed. So I'm looking for chewed wires. Update you soon. Another quick little update. We've taken out one of the spark plugs to see if we have spark. Crank it. Stop. Right, we have spark. Okay, so we have spark, but we don't have fuel. If we figure out where the fuel is at, we'll probably start the car. Okay, so we ran out of talent and realized that we're not going to fix the camper today unless we get some help. And we called in Kokkie and Corneille from Kokkie's Performance Center, and they very quickly established that our dictator computer system is faulty, and I'll show you the fault in a couple of minutes. Corneille is busy rewiring a new wiring harness for us so that we can fit a new management system to the camper, because we also established that there's a short on the current wiring system, as we suspected earlier on. So yeah, and this is the offensive part right there. You should be able to see the crack in the transistor, which was obviously caused by a short, which was probably caused by rats eating wires.
Ek dink kry mens die beste dat ons hom gaan kry tot op 'n daai net.
Ja. Maar ek kan loop hou. Well done.
So, whilst doing some tests on the RV, we are now back. The RV is parked again. We have worked on the timing to retard it a bit. But as we got back, I realized one of the cameras that does the time lapses fell out of the RV itself. Fell through the opening where the engine is, and yeah, I'm on my way to fetch it.
Guys, the objective for today was to start the camper and drive to the local petrol station to inflate the wheels and put in some fuel. We're driving. Right guys, so in the immortal words of Ash Tavares 20 VW minutes later, which in reality was 8 hours yesterday, as well as probably another hour or so today. It starts and it runs and we can drive it. It's not perfect yet, still a couple of things that we need to do. The timing seems to be too far advanced, and I'm pretty sure the air fuel mixture is not exactly where it's supposed to be. But be that as it may, she runs, and that was the objective for yesterday. The objective for yesterday was to get to drive to the garage, the local garage, and be able to inflate the tires and put some fuel into the car. We did that. What did we find? Right, quick little recap. We found that the VW 2.1 litre motor, I believe it's a 2.1 because it says so at the back, is fitted with this aftermarket management system. Now, the management system on the VW is actually quite limited. Really, the only thing that it does is it figures out the timing, it figures out your revolutions per minute, and with that, it uses that information to initiate the injectors. My goodness, I can't even speak today. Right, so the injectors. And that's really the only purpose for this oak over here, is to take over that function. It uses a map function, which is the manifold absolute pressure, to determine whether you're putting your foot down at the accelerator or not. It uses a wire to the coil pack to be able to, or the coil unit, to be able to figure out when it fires, so that it obviously times that together with the firing of the injectors. So what did we do? The car didn't start. Now remember, I told you the car was running fine, and then we put it in storage for probably about 3 to 4 years, and recently decided it needed to come out of storage. I didn't want to start. We eventually had it brought to the house over here, started troubleshooting with very little success, because as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, rats definitely climbed into this car. They chewed off the fuel lines, they chewed off a bunch of wires, and we generally just had to go through all this stuff. We knew going into this that there was a short on the car somewhere, because if you put the battery in within a day, it would actually be dead. Also, if you put in the battery, some of the lights on the dashboard will come on even if you don't even have a key in there. So definitely we were aware of the fact that there was a short there. But we needed to sort out the motor first. So what did we do? We started troubleshooting. In troubleshooting, obviously your first thing is, does the motor turn over? And yes, the motor was turning over, so that wasn't a concern for us. Next thing that we did is we looked for spark, and I showed you a little bit of a video there, how we looked for the spark, and we were able to achieve spark. Then we checked the fuel system. The fuel pump was running because we could actually hear it. We did fix the pipes for the fuel pump, or the fuel system, and with that, we checked that there was pressure at the actual injectors, and there was pressure at the injectors, so that definitely wasn't the problem. Next logical step then was to check whether the injectors was in fact firing. We took out the injectors. Very easy on this motor to do. One little bolt takes out 2 injectors on the one side, one little bolt on the other side takes out both injectors. You then have the injectors in your hand, and you can just simply swing the motor and see if they actually fire, if there's a little mist of fuel that comes off them, which in this case there wasn't. Problem located. We didn't have firing of the injectors. After much searching for dead wires, much searching for the problem, we figured out that this car has a permanent positive or 12 volt on each one of the injectors, and it fires with a negative, in other words a ground, and that ground it gets from this unit over here. So lots of troubleshooting on the wiring. We eventually decided to check this unit, and I think I did show you that this unit is bust. One of the transistors that specifically control the firing of the injectors, well, it's broken in through the middle. So definitely dead, definitely the problem. Koki Fushia, a friend of ours, was kind enough to actually bring us a new one of these oaks, as well as a new wiring harness for this car, well, for any car really, because the wiring of these cars are pretty standard. There's not a hell of a lot that you can wire. Now, it might sound very daunting to say that we're going to replace the wiring on the car, but in fact, that's not such a daunting task. In this particular car, it's actually quite a simple task. And let me show you. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the positive wire from the alternator, from the back of the alternator over here. So that's positive for the unit to be able to switch it on. The negative we picked up from the motor itself, right at the bottom there. Just found a good source of ground, and that gives you the power to the unit. In addition to that, what we needed to do is pick up the spark, and that we did from the coil. So one of the wires go to the coil, and then we've got two wires going to the two injectors, or the two sets of injectors. And what we learned was that this motor fires all of the injectors at the same time, because it really doesn't matter, because your firing order, and don't quote me on this please, I think it's 1 3 2 4 or something like that, but it fires alternative banks. And because it's a port injection, it really doesn't matter. So long as we put some fuel into the port over there, when the intake valve opens, it will suck that fuel into the motor, and Bob's your uncle. So really simple process of wiring up this particular motor, with then obviously lots of spare wires that we're never going to use, but we'll just basically blank those off and tape them and make sure that they don't short out with anything else. So we'll just make sure that these are blanked off properly. No throttle position sensor, because we use this absolute manifold pressure, the MAP, manifold absolute pressure. We use the MAP sensor, which is this little vacuum pipe that runs over here. And that basically is the entire process. It took all of half an hour to 45 minutes to rewire the motor, and we were able to start the motor and then start fiddling with the timing to get it to run right. And the moment we were sure that it was running okay, we were able to take the car to the local garage. A few last things that we need to do now is we have to adjust the timing slightly, so ever so slightly, because we are getting a lot of pinging, which means we advance the timing way too much while we're driving. And also maybe see if we can sort out our fuel air fuel mixture. Can't remember what that one is, but those we can certainly do when we get the car onto the dyno. And yes, we will put a camper van onto a dyno, and we will make a video about that as well, because I think it'll probably be the first camper van ever in the history of mankind that's going to go onto a dyno. So that's where we're at right now. We're going to continue now with quickly sorting out some of the timing, or maybe just retarding the timing ever so slightly. Then we need to reinstall the airbox, and then we're going to make sure the car starts and runs properly, and then we're going to start taping away our wiring to make the wiring meet within the engine cabinet, and making sure that nothing can get wet that's not supposed to get wet. We'll also need to mount, because the other unit looks exactly like this, we'll need to mount this unit within a plastic housing of sorts to make sure that it doesn't get wet, because the motor is quite open at the back and exposed at the back over here, so we definitely don't want it to get wet, otherwise it will just pop again. And yeah, hopefully we will actually get around to cleaning this motor at some point. A couple of other things that we would like to do. The heat gauge in the front of the car doesn't work, so we will need to figure out where that wire is, or maybe just put a new wire into the heat gauge. The heat gauge definitely works. We can pick up the heat to here, because we did wire in the water heat sensor onto the motor, so we can see the water temperature, and we know that it works properly, and we know that the cooling system works properly. So just wire that to the front over there. And then lots of lights are faulty on this yoke. Some brake lights are out, some of the headlights are out, some of the lights on the dashboard are out. So we'll just fix all of those things generally to make the car in a good roadworthy condition, and then maybe just update the interior a little bit before we go ahead and sell this unit. Thanks guys, and thank you for watching this video. I hope it answers some of the questions that you have, and some of the things that we struggled with, because that's what we tried to do. We tried to put a video together of the things that we were struggling with. Our camper runs very nicely at the moment. We have a couple of small little things still to do to it. We're still also trying to decide whether we're going to spruce it up a little bit, make it pretty before we sell it, or whether we're going to sell it sort of as is. It's actually in fairly good condition. It could make a very nice project for something, and our biggest concern really is that this is a personal project. Not everybody is going to like what I will do with it, if that makes sense. Someone else might want to do something completely different, and it's actually a very nice project. So we're going to maybe leave it as it is and perhaps sell it as is. Please like our channel, subscribe to the channel. We will really appreciate that. If there's any questions, please post them down below in the comments. We promise we will answer every single question and read every single comment. We are on Instagram at @weareracing, that's we_r_racing, as well as obviously on YouTube if you've found us here. Have an awesome day, and remember, life is too short not to drive nice cars.